right, guys, welcome back. It's week 11 of high school sports, which means into the regular season.
It is that time. It's that time for everyone. Some people more happier.
Yeah.
Some people more happy than others. Others looking forward to the next couple of weeks. Others looking forward to basketball season.
Marion. Yeah.
Because there is a strange opportunity for a couple of teams to still make that playoff, given the gigantic upset in the Mountain 7 with the Trojans horsing it in against the 5-star Generals of Lee County High School.
There's your hot take for the day.
Unbelievable. In all honesty, there was not a morsel of my body that thought that was even possible.
And Lee had the ball, 2 possessions there at the end, and Battle stopped them on one, and then there was a fumble. Quarterback dropped back. It was raining. He lost control of the ball.
We're not
Battle
quite sure.
on top of it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
If there was, there are 2 upsets, I think, throughout the season that I can think of, and this is a hot take, just right off the bat, not thinking about it. 2 upsets this year that blew my mind, and they both involve John Battle. John Battle beating Lee.
Oh, in Central.
No. Patrick Henry beating John Battle 62-30.
I understand that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because Patrick Henry doesn't even have a prayer to get into the playoffs in single A, and they absolutely smoked Battle. And never in my wildest dreams did I think that would happen, nor did I think Battle had a shot in Lehigh. But here we are.
And if Battle would have beat Patrick Henry, they're in the playoffs.
Oh.
They're in the playoffs.
Yes. Well, at least they're in a much better position to be in the playoffs, because that would have been a de facto play-in game.
Yeah.
Between Battle and Lee, because you're talking about teams with 2 wins, and they'd be fighting for that 3rd win. And then I don't think Lee or Battle have a shot this Friday. We'll get into that.
No.
But I don't know. You would have thought Lee had a better shot coming into this Friday against Abingdon. But after getting beat by Battle at home, like what? It's the way the season's been, though.
That's right.
It really has been the way the season's been. And I also was looking at a couple of things, and I was looking at playoff pictures throughout the state of Virginia. And everyone's kind of doing their own points.
Yes.
And the VHSL pumps out the official points, but they don't pump it out to the public.
Correct.
They send it to the schools. The schools know it. The schools can disseminate it if they want to. That would be nice if our principal at Tazewell, Jerry Smith, would do that. But I don't expect that to happen. But I was looking at some of the points, and then I realized a lot of people played in week 0. And the Rye Cove Lord Botetourt game counted. And I didn't know that until basically Monday of this week.
We kept looking at that loss, and
I kept thinking, I was like, that was a benefit game. That was a benefit game between those two. Why would Rye Cove and why would Botetourt want to play, other than the fact that their coaches know each other because they're longtime Emory and Henry football alumni.
And that's where the game was played.
And it was played at Emory. So, that made sense for that to be a benefit game.
Mm-hmm.
Especially given the fact that Botetourt, I guess they would get a benefit of playing Rye Cove, who's good, but they're getting single A points. I'm sure they're thinking Rye Cove's probably going to go 9-1, 8-2, so they're going to get a lot of bonus points. But it doesn't really help Botetourt other than maybe that.
Right.
Because Botetourt's playing in a 3A, 3A and 5A district, in Roanoke.
with a
So,
barn burner this Friday night against Northside.
yes, well, that's the way that Northside and Botetourt and William Byrd, they have played some barn burners the last couple of years, regular season and playoffs. So, looking forward to those 3A Region D playoffs. They're going to be fun.
Probably be LCA again, or Kettle Run. Keep your eye on them.
We'll see.
I don't even think they're in the hunt for the playoffs. But
I really didn't check. I didn't check that Richmond area in 3A.
right.
When I get to the Richmond area, I'm checking 5A because William Byrd, or not William Byrd, but William Fleming is usually in the running for tops in 5A. They've had a down season this year, so they're 6-3 right now. Probably going to finish 7-3, but they represent the biggest of the big schools in this area. And Patrick Henry Roanoke has played really well this year. So you've got some 5A schools that are really close to us. They get to play that big football in the state of Virginia.
All right, let's move into it.
Yep.
I'd like to thank our sponsors. First off, Appa Bag Works. Again, if you're looking for a Christmas gift, because it's that time to start thinking about it, remember he has things for the ladies, the wife, as in wristlets or a handbag. But he also has things for men. He has wallets. He also has belts that he's trying to make, and he can also fix shoes. I forgot about that.
Yes, he can do shoes. He did wonders on my leather shoes that I wore for my wedding.
Hey.
He fixed them up, and they're like brand new. It's awesome.
Andrew Scruggs, attorney at law in Bluefield, Virginia. He does criminal work. He'll help you in general district or circuit court. And then, of course, the guy that's got a title, Old Town Barbershop. Of course, he's not cutting hair right now. He's waiting on somebody.
It's right there.
Make sure you're on time. But let's move ours along. We've already hit hot takes. That was the next thing to hit, unless Josh has got something else.
No, I'm good.
All right.
That was it.
I wrote down the rankings, and I left them, but I have them. So, in 2D, of course, we all know Union sits at top because they're 9-0. They have 27 points. Ridgeview at 23 points sits in second. They're 8-1. V-High 7-2 sits in third with 23 points. Now that's 23.8 for Ridgeview, 23.3 for V-High. Gate City's at 7-2 with 23.1 points. Then you have Graham sitting at 5 at 6-3 with 21.1 points. 6 is Lebanon at 6-3 with 20.6 points. Richlands at 7, 6-3 with 19.3 points. Lee sitting there in 8th at 3-6 with 15.1 points. The next two could be tricky depending on what happens on Friday night or Saturday. We'll get to that in a minute. Battle's 2-7 with 14.2, and Tazewell is at the same 14.2. Then you go to Central, who is 1-8, 12.8 points. Marion's 0-9 with 10 points. From there, give you the top four. In 2C, when it comes to the playoffs, you got Glenvar 9-0. They have 26 points. Gretna 8-1 for all of us Tazewell people. We remember that name from 2004.
Vic Hall.
Correct. Then you have Floyd County. I like their logo. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, the Buffs.
They're the Buffaloes, if you didn't know.
Yeah, Buffalo Mountain.
And then 4 is Radford. Radford's 5-4 with 21 points. So those are the 4 teams to look at coming out of this district. Then, really quick, in 1D, you have Eastside 9-0, Chilhowie 8-1, Ryco 6-3, Honeacre 5-4. Northwood, the Panthers, are sitting there in 5 at 6-3. They are projected to win this game against Patrick Henry Glade Springs on Friday night. Holston,
barring an upset,
is 6, Twin Springs 7, Royal Retreat 8, and then Grundy 6 at 9, and that one matters. And we'll get into that one here in a minute.
It does matter.
Then on the other side, to give you the top 4, Craig County, Giles, Grayson County, and George Wythe. So there's your rankings. Now let's get into some games.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Now, starting, this one might need Andrew Scruggs. It'll be played on Friday night at 7 o'clock in Bristol. And it's the Marion Scarlet Hurricane taking on the Virginia High Bearcats.
Marion has issues with motivation, I would imagine, at this point. I mean, we're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, maybe an 18-year-old here and there, senior, which those may be motivation issues too, even if you're a senior in your last game. I remember playing my last game against Virginia High in Bristol. We came out on the winning end of my last football game at Tazewell. We didn't make the playoffs. It was the first time we didn't make the playoffs in 2 years. Marion, they're 0-9. What are you going to say about them? I mean, you called them a tropical depression, and I said, yes, it's because it's depressing last week. And we doubled down on a 36-0 loss to Richlands in the cold and rain. And I'm sure there was wind in Marion because there's always wind in Marion.
Right.
Virginia High, what a showing on Monday.
Yes.
What a showing. I wonder if that has much to do with Lebanon. We'll get into that later and ask those questions. But Virginia High, great showing against Lebanon. Here's the really weird thing about Virginia High. So, Graham beats Lebanon 59-14. It's 42-14 at halftime. Virginia High, they win, 45-6?
45-42 to 6.
Something like that. So it's really not that far off from what Graham did in the final score against the Lebanon team that at one point was number 2 in our region and undefeated.
Yep.
But you then take the Virginia High game in with Graham, and Graham blanks him 45-0. Here's the problem with this entire season: the transitive property in mathematics doesn't exist this year. You can't say because this team did this and this team did this to this team, like A plus B equals C, like that doesn't equate.
Not today.
It just doesn't happen, because if you look at the score of the Virginia High game with Lebanon, it should be tighter.
Mm-hmm.
You would say that Virginia High should win because of the Graham game, but that they blew Lebanon apart. Maybe Lebanon has injuries. We don't know that for a fact, but that's the word on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So, Virginia High, gosh, they have the talent, they have the speed. They should have played Graham better. Maybe it's just because Graham is so good, or maybe it's a combination of Virginia High still having that middle block against Graham, because Tazewell, Marion, Grundy at one point, Virginia High, anyone that's played in the Southwest District over the last 25 years has had a mental block against at least one team.
Either the R or the G.
Right, and it's generational, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't just stop. Like it happens and it goes for a long time. We're talking about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Graham's opportunity. I think realistically in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, it was Graham. Like I played at Tazewell and we beat Richlands. I beat Richlands my sophomore and junior year and should have beaten him my senior year. We couldn't beat Graham. We beat Graham one time. We beat them in the playoffs when it counted, and then played Gate City in the region championship game. But it was that G. Maybe that's what that is. What does that look like? Maybe in a first-round playoff game that's played in Bristol. We'll get into that. But the fact of the matter is Virginia High is going to win this Marion game. They're going to win it big. I like Virginia High, 49, Marion, nothing.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, Marion played really tough in the first quarter and a half against Richlands. It was 14-0 at half. Marion just gets beat up. And what we mean by that, and you're football guys, you listen to this, you're just getting leaned on that line. And it's making you tired because there's not enough guys to come in and take over. And so Marion might be able to compete in the first quarter, but it's going to take a toll on them.
Yeah, eventually they just wear out.
And I would love to say that this game could be 50-0. I'd like to think V-High's like, hey, we're not going to kill you. 42-0 is what I'm going to go with.
No, I think that's probably what Virginia High's thinking. Like, we've made the playoffs. We're going to win once we get up.
Yeah.
Then let's get our guys out. Let's not risk anything going into a first-round playoff game that we could be hosting.
And they have V-High projected at 99% winning. Of course, that makes sense. You probably could put 100 there. 48-0. So
that sounds about right. Hey, I'm on that one.
Now, Friday night, 7 o'clock. The John Battle Trojans, coming off their mighty victory down in Ben-Hur, will now travel to Bullitt Park to take on the Union Bears.
Okay, so Battle enters into the playoff scene.
Yes.
Which they should have done earlier in the season. And when you think about Battle, if they beat Patrick Henry, they may be solidly in.
Correct.
There may be a shot at somebody outpointing them here or there, but you take the Holston game where they came back and made it a one-score game at the end of the game. They beat Central, and then they go to Patrick Henry Glade Springs, which is not a good football team, and they get throttled. Like, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Well, now you're basing a lot of playoff hopes on the fact that Union may just take the night off. Not happening. Union has been dominant. They've dominated everyone they've played. They've scored, 30, 40, 50 points a game. Make that 62 against a Daniel Boone team earlier in the season. And there's so many what ifs for the Trojans. This isn't the same opportunity that they had last week against the Lehigh team that perennially just hovers around that 7-8 mark. So as much as we always talk about, as much as we'd like to give some statistical data that would make this an interesting football game, it's not going to be. It's just a matter of whether or not Union calls the dogs off. Mm-hmm. I think Battle, with their newfound win and newfound life, I think they play hard for a quarter and a half, but it's the second half where Union takes over. Union 42, Battle 7.
So there is a way that you could win this game. Union just say, hey, we're going to play our second team, and we want to get another Mountain 7 in here, and vamoose, there goes John Battle. Not going to happen. They're going to compete hard, and the projection has this game at 62-3.
Yeah.
I don't think Union, if you're not mean to Union, they're not mean to you.
Not normally.
No, so I think around the 42-45 range is where this game will be, and then Union will shut the machine down. I don't think that they're going to just steamroll to 62. They don't need to.
No, I don't think so either. And Union win, lose, or draw in this game has already wrapped up the 1 seed.
Yeah.
So I really think they get up by 2 or 3 scores, and I think they're going to get at least most of their players some rest.
Yeah.
They've got enough to go in and platoon it. So
yes.
I think they get them out of harm's way and move on to week 12.
You got a starting running back that's 5'9", 215 pounds. Then you got a sophomore running back that's 5'9", 215 pounds. So it's just a mirror image of it. So whichever one you put out there is going to do the damage. So I'm not going to say the score 42-55 to 0. I don't think Battle gets in the end zone on this. Now, we're staying down in this area of the state where the Abingdon Falcons, 3A by the way, travel to Ben-Hur to take on those five-star Generals.
Okay. Actually, this game matters for both teams. I think that Abingdon has a shot to maybe get to the 7 seed, stay out of that 8 seed and 3D. But this is, gosh, what's the psyche of Lee right now? Are they just are they just absolutely blown away at this point by what has happened last Friday, where they just really dropped the ball and they could have cemented themselves into that 8 seed and not had any worry whatsoever, but they didn't, and they get beat by Battle. And insert Abingdon, who has owned Lee over the past few years, even when Abingdon wasn't very good. And Abingdon's not very good right now, but I think they're better than Lee. It's hard for me to try to figure out where Lee is psychologically, because I think this is more of a psychological game.
Right.
Especially at the end of the season with where you are and what's happened. Abingdon's fighting for that 8 seed, and so is Lee. But, Abingdon didn't just come off a devastating loss where they could have sewn up a playoff spot if they beat Union, but beating Union and losing to Battle, Lee has a harder mental block to get over this week. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have to do it, because if they don't, they may find themselves in the 10 spot, not just in the 9 spot 1 looking in. Their season could really kind of like dwindle down to they're in the bottom third. And they've been in the middle to bottom half.
Yeah.
So
the whole time.
I think Abingdon has more to fight for, and they have less of a psychological barrier to overcome in this game. And it's not about, X's and O's. It's about Jimmy's and Joe's and how they deal with everything. I like Abingdon in this one, 28, Lee 17.
So Lee realistically could still put up a fight, because they know that. Go ahead and spoil alert. Tazewell playing Lebanon could be a dogfight, and if Tazewell wins that one and Lee loses, Lee is not making the playoffs. So if they want to make the playoffs, they could come in fighting. But again, as you said, Abingdon probably wants to keep that 7 seed, and they're going to fight too. 3A facing a team that's like Tazewell, almost on the verge of 1A. I like the Falcons being too big in this one. I like them 35-7.
A little bit of a fight.
Little.
Early.
Bit of the fight. Yeah. Like 7-14 at half, and then Abington's just too big.
Yeah, Abingdon will wear on you.
Yeah. So now we move Mountain 7 next year, Southwest District. On Friday night, the Central Wise Warriors will travel to Grundy to take on the Golden Wave, where this game matters. Remember, Grundy sits at 9 in the playoffs and could jump Royal Retreat.
Right, and so this matters for Grundy because they can get into the playoffs with a AA win against a Central team that is reeling at this point. This game has mattered a lot for a lot of people at the end of the season the past few years. It matters for Tazewell because Tazewell played Grundy and beat Grundy, so if Grundy wins their game, they get double bonus points for that. And the people that are, the teams that Tazewell's up against for that 8 spot, Lee, Mountain 7, Battle, Mountain 7, they both played Central.
Yes.
So any kind of win for Central boosts their points and hurts Tazewell's points because Tazewell didn't play Central. So, is it 1 point or 2 points? That may be enough one way or the other to matter. Central has not much to play for. Didn't have much to play for last year, and Grundy was playing for a possible host in the playoffs last year. Now Grundy is just playing to get in. I think, one, it's the last football game played at Grundy High School, and that matters. It matters to the seniors. It matters to the community. It matters to everyone down there. Wise Central, 7. Grundy, 31.
Whew. Yeah, and this game means a lot to Grundy, as you just said, in many facets. They want to go out winners. They want that field to be, hey, we won that last game on that field, and they want to make the playoffs their last year at Grundy High. Royal Retreat hosts the 4th seed Honecker Tigers. That's even a little more boost to Grundy because Royal Retreat probably will lose that game. Honecker's not bad with their freshman quarterback. I like Grundy in this one as well. 35-12.
Tell them what the prediction is for it, because it's tight.
So, we didn't give you the Abingdon prediction. That game is at 94%, 38-14 Abingdon. But here at Grundy, they have gave this game at 53% to the Golden Wave, 35-34.
Right, and I think like the computers aren't going to take into consideration motivation, right? And the sentimental value of what's happening at Grundy. And I've always said Grundy is the place where football dreams go to die. Well, it's not. Grundy will never be dead. Grundy High School and everything that went on at Grundy High School will never be dead. But the spirits of Grundy High School past will live on that field, and they will come out on Friday night, a week after Halloween, and spook the dog out of Central Wise.
I agree. All right, let's move up into our neck of the woods, where we just played, not against this team, the other team, the Graham G-Men. We don't know who they are now because they aren't who they were. Take on the Richlands Blue Tornado in Richlands.
They are who we thought they were.
Now.
I think that was Coach Green with the Cardinals,
right?
A long time ago. Graham's just an anomaly. I know what they are now. I get it.
Yeah.
If you look at the scores of every team that they've played in the Southwest District, and we're talking about they annihilated 59-14 and 45-0 or 46-0 Lebanon and Virginia High. And Richlands has losses to Lebanon and Virginia High, and they had losses to Lebanon and Virginia High when Lebanon was better.
Right, V High was the first game of the season.
Right, and that was touch and go for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
One play here or there, and the outcome of that game may be different. But Richlands is going to struggle because everyone else has, and I can't look at every game that Graham has played in the Southwest District and say Richlands is not going to struggle. They're going to play very well against a defense that has given up 14 total points in district games. It's just not going to happen. Lebanon scored 14 points. Virginia High scored nothing. Tazewell scores nothing. And Marion scores nothing. It's just not going to happen. Richlands is going to struggle to move the ball. The question is whether or not they can stop Graham. And the scores have said that no one's going to stop Graham, not in the Southwest District. Someone else may be able to, but no one in the Southwest District is going to be able to stop Graham. And Richlands is the last district game, so Richlands isn't going to stop Graham either. Graham took advantage of Tazewell turnovers. I said last week turnovers were going to be key to just about every single game that was going to be played on Thursday or Friday night. Tazewell had a pick six, a fumble, a quarterback run for loss, and then a fumble that they didn't lose, but still a fumble on the first 4 plays of the game. And before you know it, 3.5 minutes into the game, Graham's up 21-0. Richlands can't do that, obviously. I don't think that Richlands will do that per se, but I can't rule out the fact that Graham may just overwhelm them as quickly as they possibly can from the very beginning, because that's what Graham has done to everybody second half of the season. Richlands has the bodies, and I think they have some talent to where they can, play with Graham maybe for a little while, but Graham has just overwhelmed everyone from the very beginning. Gosh, I wish this was going to be a good game. I wish this game should be a game that's the game of the week. It's not, because Graham is just absolutely waylaying everyone. Graham will waylay Richlands again in their second straight trip to Ernie Hicks Stadium. Graham 45, Richlands 14.
I was like, whoa, low score there.
45.
So, more hurry up because I know the man wants to get to lunch. It's almost his lunch hour. But Graham will win this game single-handedly 52-7. Now, let's move into the game of the week. There's still a game after it. We'll explain that. But game of the week played in Dickinson County, where the Gate City Blue Devils will take on the Ridgeview Wolfpack. And Graham wins that game 96%, 41-13 is what the projection said. Back to Ridgeview.
So this has gigantic playoff implications, because if I told you Graham could be the 3 seed, depending on what happens in this game, they can be the 3 seed, which would be absolutely unbelievable given the start of their season.
Yes.
They could be the 3 seed, or Graham could be the 5 seed. And it all depends on whether or not Gate City can beat Ridgeview or Ridgeview can beat Gate City. Obviously, with Gate City sitting at 4, this is a bigger game for Gate City than it is for Ridgeview, maybe. Because who would you rather play? Union in the second round or Graham in the first round? Because if you're Ridgeview, you're sitting there going, or Graham in the second round, which one do you want to play? Ridgeview sitting there going, well, I don't know who I want to play. Maybe if I get someone in the second round, I've got a better shot at it. But Gate City's sitting at 4 and Graham's sitting at 5. Like, Gate City needs to win so they don't flip-flop and Gate City has to go to Graham.
Right.
And you would think Gate City, with the season that they've had, man, unbelievable season. And then it could come down to now they're not even hosting a playoff game. That's huge. Here's the other thing. Ridgeview, when they've had to play tough schools, especially schools that want to just pound on them, they don't play very well. I mean, they hold up for a while, and I'm talking about Union, but after a while, that lean on them just gets to them. And I think Gate City can do that. I think Gate City can lean on them with some of their bigger bodies.
Yep.
So I think if you're going to look at this on paper, everything would point to a Ridgeview victory. I think if you were going to go by scheduling and all that sort of stuff, maybe you give Gate City the upper hand because they played a tougher schedule and come out with just one less victory than Ridgeview. If Gate City can win, it keeps Graham from hosting. If Ridgeview can win, then Graham can host. I don't think that happens. I think Gate City and Graham become the biggest game next week in the 4-5 matchup, because Gate City comes out victorious down in Dickinson County on top of the mountain, 28-21.
Yeah, I like Gate City in this. They got a lot of speed. I like their quarterback. Of course, I like the Wolfpack, but I don't think that they come out victorious here. Gate City 24, Ridgeview 17.
Woo.
Now the other game, and this is why it's here. It should be on Friday night at 7 o'clock. Played at the Concrete Stadium. I've just learned that it's called that because of its concrete steps. We nicknamed it Pioneer Park, and that's what we're going to stick with. Pioneer Park. Tazewell taking on Lebanon, but Lebanon sustained some injuries against VHI. One is their starting wide receiver, Baker, I think's his name. He went down. They think they lost him for the season to maybe an ACL or something like that. But they may want to play on Saturday to heal up from their injuries. So that game could be moved to Saturday. We don't know. So that's why it's the last game. So it's either Friday at 7 like scheduled, or it could be moved to Saturday, probably at 1 o'clock at Pioneer Park.
So it just absolutely blows my mind that anyone could get a reprieve on playing a game because of injuries without it being, we don't have enough to field a team. Lebanon has enough to field a team.
Yeah, they do.
So there are teams that, because of injury, can't field a team and they have to forfeit. It's happened multiple times with multiple schools this year. Some schools have had to cancel their season and forfeit the rest of their games. You can go on VHSL and you can pull up any board, Southwest Virginia Sports, and pull up this stuff and see how many games have been forfeited and seasons canceled throughout the state of Virginia. I think it's absolutely unbelievable that we're even talking about it like this. The fact of the matter is, Lebanon had to play on Monday. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could have given Virginia High space in the school and played on Friday night. They chose not to. They chose to play on Monday, and they get swamped again. They're just absolutely getting demolished. In this game last year, Tazewell wins in a freaking shootout.
Yes.
It's unbelievable what that game ended up being. But Lebanon doesn't have the firepower anymore. They can't keep their quarterback safe. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe that's truly what they're thinking. Tazewell's depleted. They don't have anybody either, but Tazewell's not ducking.
Nope.
Tazewell's not ducking it. They're saying, let's play on Friday because that may be their best shot. And this is Tazewell's best shot with a win to get into the playoffs. I think Lebanon, they're ducking a game. They're absolutely ducking a game. What does that mean? What does that truly mean for the kids? Do you think they think they're ducking a game, or do you think they're like, we need another day and then we'll be okay?
Right.
Like, if I'm Tazewell, I'm saying they're ducking, we should be playing. I'm not being mad about it. What I'm doing is I'm being more motivated for it. One, I can get into the playoffs. Lebanon's in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Tazewell needs to get into the playoffs with a win. So the motivation there is for Tazewell, no matter how depleted they are. Lebanon has been trounced in every game the past 3 or 4 weeks. So this is an opportunity for Tazewell. I think that plays into it. I think no matter how bad it was against Graham, it was always going to be bad against Graham. There's nothing to be upset about.
Right.
It is what it is. It was the largest margin of victory for Graham in the 108 games that Graham and Tazewell have played. But what they do, Graham's throttled everybody. It is what it is. But I think Tazewell has the motivation. I think Tazewell can actually do it. And I think Tazewell's defense, as stingy as they are, and I know what they did against Graham, but everyone's done the same thing against Graham. Tazewell's defense is pretty stingy. They've got great defensive coaches. I like Tazewell to pull the upset and get into the playoffs. Tazewell 28, Lebanon 17.
You all could say that we're homers, and that's not what I'm looking at. It's not the way Josh is looking at it. I mean, I took Richlands over Tazewell and took some heat for that. But Lebanon last year, same MO. 6-0, lose their last 4 games. I hate to say it, but I think it's going to happen again. Lebanon's going down. They haven't been able to protect their quarterback all year. Yes, Tazewell loses their best defensive end they had. They lose their nose guard. We lose a kicker. Guess what? Sometimes in war, you lose some people, but people got to step up and be the next man up.
Mm-hmm.
We just got a brand new coach. He's trying in there. He's in the trenches. I don't want him to be a one-and-done coach. I don't want him to come in here and be like, well, these guys quit. I'd rather go somewhere else. So I hope we're motivated. We should be motivated because it could get us into the playoffs. You get one more game for the season. I think Tazewell wins this one 24-21. Now, when I say we lost our kicker, we didn't lose that kicker, though. Good field goal kicker. So if we get in the spot, we can get there. So 24-21.
24-21. I think there's a real opportunity.
I didn't give you predictions on the last two, or projections. 78% Ridgeview 28-20, and then Lebanon 96% 48-21. And again, it doesn't take into those injuries.
It doesn't take any of those injuries. And if you were to average out the average points for Lebanon, it's in the 40s.
Yeah.
Even given the last two games. So, to say that they would score 40 again wouldn't be hard for a computer to do that. But I think it's a totally different team than earlier in the season. Injuries, all that sort of stuff. But, Tazewell's got injuries. They kick kids off the team. They've had kids ejected from games. They're still serving, their suspension. So, I can't believe that we're actually having a conversation about a team's trying to get another day, not just of rest, but of preparation. They had to play on Monday night, but you know what? Virginia High had to play on Monday night. They had to go all the way to Grayson County. They had to go all the way to Independence. That's easily a 2-hour drive on a bus, no matter which way you go. Like if you take the short way through the mountain or you take the long way up 81 to 77, it's a 2-hour bus ride, and they did it. Won the game 28-27, came back and played Tazewell on a Friday night.
All right, so really quick, what you got to end us with, Josh?
Hidden Valley did not win on Friday night against Salem, and Hidden Valley is 0-9, and they play – who is it that they play? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're going to lose. Oh,
poor Hidden Valley. All right. So, really quick, because it is his lunchtime, where are you eating at on Friday night?
For which game? For Tazewell?
Nope, Ridgeview.
Ridgeview? If I'm going to Ridgeview and I'm going from Tazewell, I'm going to stop at Cuz's because Cuz's is awesome. But if I'm traveling to Ridgeview from Gate City, I'm probably going to stop at my spot, Sugar Hill.
And if I'm traveling there, they have an old-time Pizza Hut there. It's phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
I'm eating at Pizza Hut.
Yes, they do have an old-time, like classic Pizza Hut.
Sure does.
The real deal.
Yeah. All right, guys. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Little Helper's not here today. But as the barter always says, if you like us, talk about us. If you don't, keep your mouth shut.
Pray for the Vols.